Positive Pay is a system for preventing check fraud that is offered to companies by most commercial banks. In this process, companies will provide the bank with a list of checks, including features like maybe the check or information such as the check number, the dollar amount, the account number, maybe the payee, in an electronic file format. Okay, each format might be a little bit different from different banks. The bank will then compare the list to the actual checks presented for payment. They're going to flag any checks that do not match and notify the company. The company will then tell the bank whether or not to cash the check. CenterPoint can create the Positive Pay file for you that can be submitted to the bank. We just need to know the format. CenterPoint has some predefined formats in it, but we can create a format for any bank. If you give us the details that are provided by the bank and provide those to our support department, we can get that file to you. To set up Positive Pay, we would go to Setup, Accounts, and Accounts. And we would highlight the bank account that we're going to issue Positive Pay file for, and then click Edit. We're going to need to go to the Detail tab, and at the bottom there are two tabs, and we're going to need to put in information on both of those tabs. On this first tab, what we need to have is the bank routing number and the bank account number for that bank. Then you're going to need to go to the Positive Pay Details tab. And if the format that you need is one of our predefined formats, you can find it on the lookup. Okay, so this is the one that I need, but there are several different formats out there. Okay, if it is a format that we needed to create for you, then we will send you a file and you'll click the Import button to browse to where that file is and then click Open, and it'll bring that format into your CenterPoint. Then you're going to tell us what folder on your computer you want us to create those files in. So you're going to click on the Browse button at the end of that and then browse out to the folder that you want to put those files in. And if you need to create a new one, just go ahead and create a new folder. Then we're going to allow you to put in a file prefix for this file. Otherwise, it's just going to have a date on it. Okay, so I might put BMO if I have multiple banks that I'm creating my Positive Pay file for. I might put BMO as the prefix. Okay, so you can determine what that prefix will be. If I want CenterPoint to help me submit that file to my bank, I could go ahead and put in the URL that the bank provides me to go ahead and submit the file. So I can put in the bank URL here, and then CenterPoint can help with the transmission process. I need to mark this as active in order for any new checks to be added or put into a pending status to be added to a file. Okay, if I don't have it as active, then new checks written won't automatically be available to add to a Positive Pay file. Okay, certain banks might have additional required fields of information that need to be included in this Positive Pay file. If so, they'll be listed in the required data section over on the right-hand side, and you can put in any of those details into the values fields. Okay, this particular bank needed a bank number there. If you have checks that you've already written that haven't already been sent to the bank in a Positive Pay file and you want to include them in there, you can click the Process Past Payments button. It'll only include those items that have been, and those checks that have been written but haven't been cleared yet on your bank account through bank reconciliation. So I'm going to click Process Past Payments, and I have 4 payments that haven't been cleared yet, and we're going to be now processed and ready to be added to a Positive Pay file. Okay, once you're done with this setup, you're going to click Save. Now any new checks that you write will automatically be added into a pending status where they are allowed to be added to a positive pay file. To create the positive pay file, you're going to go to Processes, Banking, and Positive Pay Issue Files. You'll see here the checks that I had added before that were past payments. They're ready to be added to a positive pay file. Also, if I had written any new checks, they would also be in this pending check entries status. Okay, I can highlight those checks, and then on the right-hand side, it'll tell me the issue date of the file, in which I can change, the folder that those are going to be put in, that was part of the setup of the bank account, and the name of the file. And again, you can see the prefix that I had there is on the front of the file there. Okay, if before I create the file, I want to review a list of all of the items that are going to be included in that file, I could click on Detail Report here, and this can be printed. So this is a list of all of the checks that are going to be included in that file. Okay, if I'm ready to create the file, I'll click Create File, and it'll verify to me that it put the file in the folder that it was indicated above. I'm going to click OK on that. Now that doesn't help me transmit the file yet. To transmit the file, I want to go ahead and go to the Review Existing Files tab. On the Review Existing Files tab, I will search for the file that I want to review and go ahead and transmit. So I first need to select what company that was for, or fund if you're a fund accounting customer, and then what bank account. Now, if this company and bank account are going to be the same each time, I could right click and set them as a default. Now, this becomes the default bank account for this company or fund. So if you have multiple funds that you're doing positive pay for, you can set a separate default for each one of them. You're going to choose the issue date of the file that you want to transmit. Now mine was today, but if I needed to filter for that a little bit further, I can change the date range. I'm going to click Display Results, and it's going to show me that file that I just created. So at this point, I could still run a detail report on it, so I could highlight it and run the detail report. So if I didn't create it earlier, I can still get to it. If for some reason somebody deleted the file and I need to recreate it, I can click Recreate, and it would recreate the file. It would just have a different sequence number on it. So if you see the 0.01 at the end, you'll notice that that is actually a different sequence number. The first one was 0.00. Then when I'm ready to transmit it, I'm going to click the transmit button, and that's going to pull up the bank URL in my default browser. Now that came up on another screen for me, so I'm going to drag it over here, and you can see here that it's bringing up the BMO bank URL. It's having a little slow time there loading it, but it bring up the bank URL. So I didn't put in a real specific bank URL, but usually yours will probably be a little bit more specific to take you right to the page where you need to actually transmit the file. Okay, so I'm going to close that. Now, the last portion of this is on the Search for Payments tab. If I want to find a payment and see what file it was included in, I would use this Search for Payments tab. It allows me different options to filter for what I want. So if that payment was written by, for Alpine Sports out of the bank account of Cash and Bank here, and was for the vendor of Summit Utility Company, and was written or in an issue file that was sometime this week, I could go ahead and choose that filter. And then I could filter it even further if I wanted to, but if that's enough, I could click Display Payments, and then I would be able to see that payment and what file it was included in. Okay, so this would allow me to see that, and if I wanted to, I could run a detailed report on it showing all of the payments that were part of that file. So just bringing up that same file again.